Hello, I'm making this video really quickly for my 15-gallon aquarium. It's just going to cover general maintenance and descriptions of the equipment. So, there is mechanical filtration here in the back. It's just this pad that's underneath this little bag of carbon. Once a week, that filter has to be replaced. It is just pulling out the old one and then putting in a new one in its place. Once a month, this carbon has to be replaced. It's just this bag right here. And you just untie the bag and then take the old carbon out and pour new carbon in. And then you just run water through the carbon before putting into the tank. Make sure there's no more black soot. I have a CO2 scrubber to keep the pH up on this tank. So just make sure that these containers on the sides aren't filled with water. And if they are, take the water out. And then this substrate should be pink. And if you see it's white, please let me know, because that means that it has to be replaced. I'm not anticipating that it's going to be replaced, have to be replaced very quickly. But I haven't really experimented with it tremendously. I think it should last 2 to 3 months. There's an auto feeder right here that auto feeds 3 times a day. If you notice it's empty, you're going to have to fill it with food. I'm in the process of ordering more food. It's about half full right now. We have 4 tubes right here. These are all the dosing tubes. All 4 of them need to be over the water and in this bent position, so the stuff doesn't all just drip off the back. It'll just stay like this. So you just want to make sure that the tubes are all in that position. We have a UV light right here, which sterilizes any bacteria that is passing through the filtration chamber. Just make sure that this UV light is lit. Protein skimmer right here. It's attached to the CO2 scrubber. And with this, you just want to check the water level. There's a pump down here, and it pumps the water, and it's supposed to skim any excess protein. But this tank is very clean, so there isn't really any excess protein. And if you turn the skimmer, you'll notice that the level of the water changes. So what's very important is that this skimmer doesn't start overflowing and dripping water down the sides. So it's basically in the position that it should be. The water level should just sit like right below this red line. And like I said, it's not really skimming much protein, but it is feeding the CO2 scrubber through this tube. And it has like a closed loop air system. So just make sure that it's not overflowing, and you could adjust it like this. Next, we have the the water containers. The one in the front is RO water for the auto top off. And this one is salt water for auto water changes that I have set up. So for the auto top off, it is this small blue sensor right there, this blue sensor. When water evaporates off the top, it increases the salt content in the tank because the salt stays in the tank. But the auto top off gets a low level reading and then takes water from the RO reservoir and pumps it through this tube and the pump back into the tank until the high level is reached. So it always keeps the water level right here in between this water box logo. So you want to just pay attention to the water level and make sure that it is indeed at that location. And if it's not, then this blue light, it's a button. And if it's like red or spiraling very quickly and not just like in this lully blue shade, then it means that the auto top off has to be reset. So just press and hold that blue button and you'll hear it do like 2 or 3 beeps, and then you'll hear the water entering through the tube, and just let it do its thing. Yeah. But for some reason, if you run into a problem like where the auto top off is filling too much water, maybe the sensor has moved for some reason, then you could always manually just unplug it by one of these two to stop that water flow so you don't dump the reservoir. For the salt water reservoir, that's for the, like I said, the auto water change, which is this dosing pump. Water add and water out, water discharge. So just make sure that when you look inside this cabinet, you don't see any dripping, any of the water dripping, or any of the dosing chemicals dripping. And you won't have to replace any of the dosing chemicals. They're inside of this container and the container back there. They should last the entire time that I'm gone because I just filled them up. So right here on its side is the apex. I usually have it hung up on the side of the cabinet, but I no longer do because sometimes it disconnects from the Wi-Fi. And when that happens, you have to press the tiny button. There's a tiny little reset button. I'm trying to get it on camera. It's somewhere right there in that bottom corner. You can't see it on camera, but just take this wire right here and shine your flashlight and push it into the reset button, and you'll see the apex like light up and you'll feel the button, and then the apex should reset. The only time you're gonna have to do that is if I notice on my app that I cannot connect to the apex, and I'll ask you to please reset it. This is a separate power strip, and I have one label here, saltwater mixer. This is for the power head inside of the saltwater reservoir. So if you ever have to add salt water to the reservoir because it's low, then you'll add the water and then add the salt, which I'll go over, and then turn on the saltwater mixer, and this power head in the corner right there will turn on and it'll automatically mix the salt and the water to save any having to use your hands. So now we'll move over to my office, where you'll see that there's 2 white buckets. These are both going to be filled with RO water, just so it's easy to add water to the reservoirs. And here I have this blue pump. This is how you add water. You transfer water from the buckets to the reservoirs. So just place the blue pump inside the bucket and make sure you're holding the end of the tube and placing it inside the reservoir. And then plug this into the power strip on the side of the cabinet and then switch it on and just watch it closely. Here is the salt that I use. So if the saltwater reservoir is low, you'll have to add salt water. So you'll have to add this salt to the RO bucket. And that 5 gallons of RO water takes 11 full shot glasses of salt. What I do though is I add them one at a time. I'll add the water first to the saltwater reservoir, and then I'll add 1 scoop at a time to the reservoir until I reach 10 out of 11. And when I reach 10, I'll take this refractometer and I'll use this tinsel and just take a little bit of water. Make sure it's mixed when you do this test. So make sure the mixer is on. With the mixer on, the salt dissolved, take the tinsel, take a small amount of water, and drop it onto the glass part of the refractometer. Then shut the lid and then hold this up to a bright light, such as this right here, and then look through it, and you'll be able to see a very clear line that'll show the amount of salinity in the water. I look at the left-hand side that shows 1.0, 1.1, 1.01, 1.02. The level should be between 1.024 and 1.026. So you should notice that it's a little bit lower after adding 10 scoops. And then if it is a little bit lower, add the 11th scoop or a half scoop, and then test again until you're within the range of 1.024 to 1.026. And that's it. Then the auto water changing process will continue. So next is the Trident, and the Trident auto tests the water for calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity. And there's 3 bottles, part A, part B, and part C. And the top unscrews, and there's a hose that goes down to the bottom, and it tests using these bottles to see what the levels are. Part A will be empty in 1 month, and part B and part C will be empty in 2 months. So when that happens, you just unscrew the cap and replace the bottle. I will be able to tell you through my app when they're empty. It'll tell me that they're fully empty. And then you'll just take the bottles and replace it. Make sure that when you're opening and closing this, you don't kink any lines, because then we'll get errors on the testing, and we really don't want to do that and have to troubleshoot it. So just put it back carefully. Make sure you're not pulling at the hoses. There's a waste container back here, and it's very big, so it shouldn't get filled at all, but it's a good thing to just check like once a month to make sure that it's not full. It should last for 3 months though. Next, we have the wave maker right here, and we could tell that it's on because there's a lot of agitation on the surface of the water. And this is really essential for the health of the aquarium because it's transferring carbon dioxide and oxygen over the surface of the water. It's very healthy for the coral and the whole ecosystem. So every week, it's really important to look at the power head and make sure that you see the surface agitation. If you do not, the reason is because there's like a small piece of debris stuck inside the impeller, and what you'll have to do is just take the cap off. A lot of the times you don't have to fully remove the power head from the points of contact. You could just hold the wire with one hand and then unscrew the little cap. Just twist it to the left and pull. And then the lid will come off, and then you could pull the impeller out. And you'll see like a small piece of sand in it. Just take it over to the sink and use a paper towel and clean it out. And then when you put it back on, just make sure that it's twisting properly and you don't feel any debris in there. And then put the cap back on and let me know. Just say, yeah, the power head was stuck and I cleaned it and it's moving freely, and then I'll reset it from the app. Actually, no, let's scratch that, because if it stops working again, then I don't want to not be there. Like, I don't want it to stop again, even though I checked it on the app. So just pull the wave maker plug out and then put it back in the same spot, and it'll reset the wave maker, and just make sure that it's working before you leave. With that being said, just don't lean on the cabinet, like lean on the couch or on the floor. Don't put your body weight on this piece of cabinetry, because there's already a lot of weight on it, and it would be pretty catastrophic if this thing collapses. So yeah, I know this is a lot of information, and if you have any questions, you just feel free to ask me. I'll happily answer any questions that you have. So just a few more really small things. For the auto feeder, just make sure that when you're looking above, that there's not like food all built up all around, or maybe you'll have to move the auto feeder a little bit, just so that it's not like dumping food and it's just sitting up here. I don't have that problem really ever when it's in this position, but just look out for it. And for the tank inhabitants, there's 2 clownfish in here. So yeah, just take a look at them, make sure they look healthy. And then just a few pieces of coral in here. We got an anemone, some soft corals, that Ganipora, some zoanthids, and then some other stuff that really didn't do so well because the tank is, I'm still kind of like learning. And then the green star polyp is all along the back. Yeah, just make sure it all looks healthy. Another thing is that each week when you come, just take the lid off and like place it to the side, and then just take this scrubber, which I just replaced the blade on, and just clean the inside of the glass. You just want to avoid hitting the rocks. So just go slow, take your time, clean around the rocks. Yeah, because the one in the back is a little bit loose. So if you like bang it really hard, it might fall over. So yeah, just clean it the best you can. And it doesn't take too long with a nice sharp blade. That's everything I have for the maintenance of the aquarium. Thanks so much. Bye.